And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being. And they were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows. And the people began to think differently. And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in the ignorant and the dangerous and the mindless and the heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses, but they made new choices. And they dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the June 14th, 2020 online worship service from the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Hendersonville, North Carolina. I'm Don Rollins. I'm the accredited interim minister to the fellowship. This congregation was grounded in the liberal religious tradition and part of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Together, we seek to embody and serve the values of religious freedom, caring community, and peace with justice. Just a little housekeeping and brazen promotion before we get going. Today's format will be a little bit different than the ones we've used so far, and you can expect more tweaks as the fellowship's worship team coordinates the next 6 sessions. Just wanted to make sure you're not wondering if you have the right place. Remember, there will be a live Stones of Compassion segment at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, followed by some sharing around the discussion questions I'll give you at the end of the service. And then the brazen promotion. If you'd like to know more about our way of religion, be sure to visit us at uufhnc.org and uua.org. And now let us come to this hour. Today we're going to talk about a spiritual practice that offers sustenance and perspective in hard times, from the inevitable losses and changes that life brings to a vicious pandemic and a nation whose racist past has come to roost. And to introduce that to us, I used a poem earlier. It was written by Kitty O'Mara and has gone viral since it was composed in April. O'Mara is a former teacher and current healthcare worker living in Madison, Wisconsin. It's at once our prayer and our vision as we gather today. If you're familiar with Unitarian Universalism, you know the flaming chalice serves as a symbol of our faith tradition. The bowl of light represents our belief in unity within diversity. Today's invocation is a poem from UU minister, consultant, and advocate for racial justice, Hope Johnson. Hope dedicated this to the late musician Bob Marley. I'll share the reading with my spouse, Mary Bracey. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can.
We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, and struggling.
Making mistakes.
Paying attention.
Asking questions.
Listening.
Living our answers.
Learning to love our neighbors. Learning to love ourselves.
Apologizing and forgiving with humility. Being forgiven through grace. Blessed be.
Hi. I wanted to talk today about moments. It occurred to me as I was walking through the park the other day with my 2-year-old grandson that our lives really are just moments strung together. And I wanted to share a poem with you that I wrote after that walk. I watch my grandson, 2-year-old certainty and bravado. He runs ahead of me, small legs and constant whirling motion, joyful abandon, the tip-tap of his shoes hitting the path, the heartbeat of this moment. A moment that lives in its own reserved space, away from uncertainty, away from a world that seems to have gone slightly mad. He pauses to look back, to make sure I'm still following his tiny footsteps. I am the past. He is the future, surging forward at breakneck speed. But not here. Not in this moment. Not in this sunlit, magical, me and him moment. He runs back to me, arms out wide, knowing I'll catch him in a swinging embrace. We exist in one space, heart to heart, joy to joy, past and future, in a moment. I hope that you find a way to enjoy all of your moments and not get trapped in regrets about past moments or in fear about future moments. Thank you.
You ever see a black man walk? It's like Rhythm and Meter got up off the page and decided to move and glide with spirit. You ever see a black man walk in the room, Morris Cole style, like keep tap dancing? I'm here. In those steps are messages, and you have to listen carefully. They trying to kill me. Stop, search, and frisk me. There are prayers in a black man's walk. Don't let them shoot me down where I'm standing. Don't let the white chalk lines find me. Don't let me die in the streets like an animal. I'm a man. I swear I'm a man. When a black man walks, a whole generation lives to see another day, another sunrise, another mouth to feed, another seed, another sacrifice saved, another poem, another hungry burning cross, another mother breathing in her son's ear. Move easy. Move quietly. Keep your head down, boy. It don't matter if you're 16 or 60. When a black man walks, he is always hunted. He is always animal. He is always standing out like a living corpse. He smells like a KKK appetizer. Nuggets of his own flesh dipped in his own blood. Ooh-wee! When a black man walks, he often finds white women walking closely behind him. But you can't blame a white sister for liking the way a black man walks. She understands some things and is cool with the fact that her babies will have nappy hair, even though she will not know how to comb it. When a black man walks, wait for it. Listen to the orchestra playing beneath his feet. Pay attention to the vibrations when he walks in a room. See how many faces change to fear in the presence of a black man. See how many women hold their purse so tightly their fingers grow numb. See how many men hide their eyes wishing the darkness would go away. Maybe choke itself to death. That ugly 2/3 human being, that next to nothing black dot, that useless prison black spot. When a black man walks, every day he is like Jesus, paranoid of crucifixion. Every day he is like Trayvon, knowing that his hoodie had nothing to do with his last breath. If only bullets could kill racism, poverty, and the traumas of slavery. You pay attention when a black man walks. You listen when a black man walks. His feet have a mind of their own, a compass, a homing device. 400 years of directions. Find your way home safely. Don't let Jim Crow steal your soul. Don't let gentrification lose your memory. Don't let police brutality castrate you. Do what your mama said do. Run, run, run when their teeth are already covered in blood. Do what your mama said do. Run, run, run when a black man walks. He ain't got time to walk. Death is always like Black men are the easiest to find. They are the strongest but the most fragile. They are the calm and the storm. They die like they expect to. When a black man walks, think of it as a masterpiece, a beautiful song that you may only hear once. Cherish it. You may never hear it again.
I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to live in a world without art. Imagine no Starry Night, no Canon in D, no Jimi Hendrix's bitter ode to the national anthem, no Saturday Night Live, and yes, no Stairway to Heaven. Imagine that world, that barren world. No Sylvia Plath, no Richard Pryor, no Mary Oliver, no John Steinbeck, Nikki Giovanni, Billie Holiday, Pink Floyd, Daniel Day-Lewis, James Baldwin, Carmen Miranda, George Jones, Picasso, Amy Winehouse, no Robert Frost, no James Brown, no Meryl Streep, Santana, Shakira, no Patsy Cline. Imagine such a place without music and without prose, without dance, paintings, no weavings, no crafts, no statues, no comedy, no film, and no poetry. What I hope to do in the next 15 minutes is to lift up poetry as a rich spiritual practice, one that sometimes gets put by the wayside. But it's a creative activity that feeds and sustains us, especially in hard times like these. Maybe you read poetry. Maybe you write poetry. Maybe you listen to it or watch it, as with the strong recorded video that followed Mary's story, Niel Israel's When a Black Man Walks. Or maybe you just don't think of poetry at all. Either way, sit back, take a few spiritual breaths as I offer up poems that range from kind of silly to kind of sober. Poems about and beyond the troubles that beset us right now. My grandmother Goldie was not an avid reader, nor were the rest of her West Virginia clan, so the few poems and poets in circulation became ties that bound their family together. For prose, Goldie liked the Appalachian stories of Jesse Stewart, a Kentucky-born storyteller and poet, and because she recognized in those stories the sorrows and the guarded hopes of life in the coal-rich mountains. And Goldie found more sustenance in Stewart's stories than his poems. But even without a modern understanding of how poetry stimulates the brain and the emotions, she knew that returning to Stewart's catalog made her feel better. The rhymes, the meters, they calmed her. And Goldie would never have called those retreats, but yet they were. They were retreats to a spiritual practice. That's what they were. Neither would it occur to my grandmother that what drew her to Stewart was his love of place. Love of a place not so different from the steel blue mountains outside her door. Entitled Small Wonder, this is the poet side of Jesse Stewart, reminding us that place matters in times of hardship, and we should talk about it, and we should write poems about it. He writes, America, when I was born, I found you, and when I sang, you grew into my song. With all your friendliness and warmth around you, you made my singing joyful, loud, and strong. Your rugged hilltop was my place of birth. Your sandy river was mine since life began. The upland acres of your fruitful earth I plowed and hoed before I was a man. Your strength is in my heart, my brain, my blood. Your water, wind, soil have nourished me. Your seasons' winds have put me in a mood. Your wild hawk's freedom taught me to be free. I'm a product of and molded from your clay, prolific earth of which I am a part. My nights are nothingness, short is my day. Small wonder your songs have grown in my heart. As you're watching and listening to today's service, I wonder if you have a place that grounds you, whether you're there right now or it's a place that just lives in your memory. The place matters when it comes to poetry because it comes from somewhere. Because a meaningful life under COVID and the clarion call to dismantle racism sorely needs some kind of grounding. And poetry helps. And there's a reason so many of us are taking those long walks, working those flower beds, beholding the songs of the spring bird. It's the God in us reaching out for the God in everything. It's right now. It's real time. It's our lives aching for connection despite separation. So poetry is grounded, and it also grounds us. Another poetic theme for living in hard times is gratitude, reflection about what remains, not just what's been lost. Because from the great religions to 12-step programs, making peace with the reality of hardship always includes an invitation to Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving starting with yet another day on the planet. I have 2 poems about gratitude. The first is Imperative by poet and author Scott Cairns. The thing to remember is how tentative all this really is. You could wake up dead, or the woman you love could decide you're pretty ugly, and maybe she'll give up trying to ignore the way you floss your teeth as you watch television. All I'm saying is there are no sure things here. I mean, you'll probably wake up alive, and she'll probably keep putting off any actual decision about your looks. Could be she's glad your teeth are so clean, and the morning could be full of all the love and the kindness you need. Just don't go thinking you deserve any of it. I say again, humility is the key to gratitude, and gratitude is the key to hanging in there when trouble comes calling. One more Thanksgiving poem before we move on. It's Otherwise from the late poet Jane Kenyon. She tells us, I got out of bed on 2 strong legs, but it might have been otherwise. I ate cereal, sweet milk, ripe, flawless peach, but it might have been otherwise. I took the dog uphill to the birchwood. All morning I did the work I love. At noon I lay down with my mate. It might have been otherwise. We ate dinner together at a table with silver candlesticks. It might have been otherwise. I slept in a bed in a room with painting on the walls, and I planned another day just like this day. But I know one day it will be otherwise. You don't need some distracting exegesis here. So let me just offer a poetic reminder that life is fragile, and gratitude itself is a spiritual practice. So there is poetry in thankfulness. Now see if you can follow this. My taste in poetry is about as refined as my taste in paintings. I'm closer to a dogs playing poker kind of guy than Pollock or Monet. That said, I have taken a few stabs at writing poems, most pretty dark and contemplative, but a few are just me reaching for joy, even when joy is in short supply. Quick backstory on a poem written in a time of deep personal trouble, and I called it On Whistling. I've always wanted to be a good whistler, along with cupped hand sounds and armpit noises. Whistling is God's way of giving us free musical instruments. The Andy Griffith Show theme, Otis Redding toward the end of that musical masterpiece sitting on the dock of the bay, Monty Python's gonzo version of Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, and anything from Bobby McFerrin. Try as I will, of course, I can't come close to that kind of whistling. But working from home for the last 3 months has shown me the joy in sounding like a broken tea kettle on a high flame, because when nobody's here, I try to whistle. I'm living proof that anything worth doing is worth doing badly, including writing poetry. which, believe it or not, is going to take us somewhere here, namely, to encourage those of you who write poetry to keep at it, and to exhort everybody else to give it a try, or 10, or 20. Here we go. Holy One, all I ask is to whistle. You heard me right. All I want is the gift of whistling. Not the kind where you sputter out some bone-dry melody from some bone-dry hymn book. I want the kind of whistle where you whistle and that's the only thing on your mind. You just want to whistle. You know, the kind where you don't look around to see who might be looking. And I want that kind of whistle. I want the kind of whistle where you go through the bank drive-through, you never miss a beat because you're just that good, at least in your mind. I want the kind of whistle where you pucker up real strong. You rear back your head and let fly a good march in a good key on a good day. And all I want is the kind of whistle where, for no logical reason you can name, your whistle is saying, hey everybody, listen up. Listen to what I'm whistling here. I'm whistling I love you. Teach me to whistle, Holy One. Teach me to whistle in fear and whistle out love. Can't say I didn't warn you about my poem. You know, the point here is just that poetry is not the exclusive domain of Emily Dickinson, Maya Angelou, Oscar Wilde. It's an art form. It's a populist art form. It's a spiritual practice. And it's all the more precious as we find our way through this virus and then also remain faithful in this new era of speaking radical truth to racist power. Listen here, everybody. I know for sure poetry can make it a little easier to be a human being. It's a vehicle for calling out and naming the war on black men. It's a reminder of the need for grounding. Poetry is a platform for gratitude, not just suffering. And poetry is for all us amateurs who want to give witness to our lived experience, to just want to be heard, to be seen, to be loved. Poems enrich us. I say poems may even save us. So I say blessings on all of us who are poets, blessings on all of us who just love a good poem. And to the rest of us, I say, give it a try. Just give it a try. You know, no sermon on poetry would be complete without that oft-used poem on poems by John Haynes Holmes, prominent Unitarian minister from the last century and a co-founder of both the NAACP and ACLU. Here's the poem about poems. When I say God, it is poetry and not theology. Nothing that any theologian ever wrote about God has ever helped me much, but everything that the poets have written about flowers and birds and skies and seas and the saviors of the race and God, whoever God may be, has at one time or another reached my soul. The theologians gather dust upon the shelves of my library, but the poets are stained with my fingers and blotted with my tears. These are our closing words for today. Hey everyone, thanks very much for tuning in here. We hope that you found something that will help you through your week. Just know again, I'll be gone for about 6 weeks, but there will be some good folks from the fellowship who will be taking care of these duties. This is something for those of you who will be joining us 11:30 on Sunday morning. And as we talk about our usual discussion, I'd like for you to think about a simple question. And that is, as you think about poetry in your life, is there a poem or poet that comes to mind? It may even be your own work, but something that still speaks to you, or something you just found last week. It really doesn't matter. All we're looking for is to be able to share some names and poets with everybody else who might find those a resource too. So that's my part.
And my part is to remind you that you should have received an email with the instructions for the Zoom meeting tomorrow for Beloved Conversation and Stones of Compassion. And Elizabeth wanted me to read you something. She says, if the link does not work, go to the Zoom app, select Join a Meeting, and then input the meeting ID and password below. The same meeting ID and password will be used for these gatherings from now on. So it'll be for this Sunday, and then Sundays going forward, it'll be the same. So write them down and keep them handy. So I'm going to read those out to you. So if you need to pause and grab a piece of paper and a pencil, that'd be great. So the meeting ID is 947-6325-6099. Again, that's 947-6325-6099. And the password is 470634. That's 470634. And to access via phone, if you want to do that, it is, oh, there's lots of numbers here. Let me make sure I get this right. It's +1-301-715-8592. And then there's a comma. And then it is 947-632-56099. And that was 947-632-56099, #. Another comma, 1, #, comma, 470-634 #. There you have it, folks.
Thank you for playing the North Carolina lottery. All right, folks, take care.
Bye.